Cal scored 38 points last night, which is probably going to be enough because Miami had like 15 or so on the board midway through the third quarter. But wait, late breaking news, I'm being told, in an outcome that many of you didn't see because you gave up and went to bed last night. Miami stormed back to win the game. Miami beats Cal, shocks Cal, stuns Cal, 39-38. Now you may say, Josh, can you really stun someone as a 10-point favorite? You can when you were trailing by as many as they were. The energy in this game was incredible late. I give it 3.5 Chalai on the 1 to 5 scale. The energy exiting the Virginia Tech game for Miami was that of either jubilation because you won a game, or if you watched it like I did, you asked, is this going to be the kind of team that has to lose in order to learn lessons? Because sometimes you're exposed or you play really sloppily, but you just happen to win the game and you learn from it and you're like, whew, and you learn from it and you move on and you're better for it. But more times than not, if we're being real in college, players don't respond well until they lose. Unfortunately, human nature is a lot of times you have to lose. You got to feel that pain in the locker room in the next week before you really respond positively. And when I saw the start of this game, that's the first thing I thought was, yeah, maybe they just delayed the inevitable by getting that win against Virginia Tech because this looks ugly. They're down 35-10. So my answer to do you have to lose to learn a lesson for Miami early was yeah. And then it happened. What was it? Well, anything that happened basically after midnight Central Time. Cam Ward throws a pick six early in the third quarter. I cannot tell you how irate I was. Like I didn't have any money on this game. I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking if I were Shannon Dawson, if I were Mario Cristobal, I'm watching Cam Ward sprint out to the right and throw across his body to the far hash and a ball that floats in the air for, I timed it at like 15 seconds in the air, and it's picked off and it's taken back to the house, and that puts you down multiple possessions. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not cut out to be a head coach. I'm not cut out to be a coordinator. There's no way I could watch that. Like, that's not even a serious football play. That's backyard garbage quarterback play that if you do it, you only do it because you know, oh, there's no consequence. I'll throw it up. Who cares? I mean, it's just a little touch football game we're playing here. Except this is a conference game and it matters, and that happens. I would lose it. So then I look at Cam Ward come back to the sideline, and Mario looks at him. I don't see any yelling. And then Shannon's standing there. I don't see any yelling. He's just he pulls his little microphone up on his headset, and he's talking through what they're about to do. And at that point, I realized, if I hadn't already, this game is not for me. I don't think I could have composure at that point. But the reason you have to have the composure is because of what happened after that. And what happened after that is he ends up going 35 of 53, 437 yards, 2 touchdowns. He accounted for 277 and 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And what you realize is when you have a gunslinger at quarterback, there is going to be some bad that you have to accept to get the good. It's just the way it is. If you watched like a Brett Favre play when I was a little kid growing up, I would watch the same thing and I would think, how can a guy that's going to go on to, be like in the Hall of Fame one day, make some of these decisions that he makes? Well, it's the same way Cam Ward did what he did last night. You just got to take it. And it's got to be understood that it's going to be part of it. You could go back to what you had last year, where you had all the turnovers and you really didn't have the high-end performance, or you can occasionally have the absolutely mind-numbing, nauseating pick, but also have a Heisman potential kind of sprinkled over it to cover it up. And I think that you would take that. There was a padlock stat in this game, which is like a misleading padlock stat. Cal averaged 24.8 yards per reception yesterday. Cal had a reception of 57, of 51, of 66, and of 56. My professional analysis of that is we got some work to do in the Miami secondary. That's the first thing I would say. And secondly, Vandy and Cal took very different approaches yesterday because Cal got in a position that Vandy got in. And then Vandy looked over at the gas pedal and hit it as hard as they could. And Cal didn't. They were up 38-18. And then they had 7 runs and 1 incomplete pass and 2 sacks. And that kind of coincided with Miami scoring on back-to-back possessions, and it was game on. And at that point, it's the rubber band effect. And you let go of the rubber band, and whoosh, more talented team. ends up coming back to beat you. Cal, 2.9 yards per carry, by the way. So there's an element of this that feels like Miami's kind of whistling past the graveyard. Because we've seen them 2 games in a row now. Again, the more information we get, the more we can crystallize our opinion on a team. It feels like there's an element of whistling past the graveyard because you got the Virginia Tech game go the way it does, and they don't look good, but they win. Then you got the Cal game goes the way it does, and they don't look good, but they win. And winning matters. It's the only thing that matters. But this wasn't a title game. This is not the last game of the year. If it was, I would say that. I would say winning's all that matters. How you win matters in the regular season when it comes to how you're going to play the rest of the way. So there's still blinking red lights on this Miami defense and on this Miami team, but they're also undefeated and going into a bye week. And their next game's at Louisville. And then they got Florida State and Duke and Georgia Tech and Wake and Syracuse. And I know you listen to that and you're like, okay, get to the hard parts. There isn't one, at least as you would define it. But, I didn't think Bama had a hard stretch yesterday and they got beat. So Miami could get beat by any of those teams. But they're not going to get tested by top 10 competition if that's what you're waiting for until maybe, just maybe, they go to the conference title game. Maybe. Still a long way to go there. But congrats, man, because it takes a different kind of mentality to get off the deck and come from behind and win a game like that. And to their credit, Cal represented themselves very well all day yesterday. And I thought the game day scene was incredible. Coke versus woke was one of the all-time marketing slogans for a game. I think it's better than Catholics versus convicts. I think Coke versus woke is just unbelievable. And I also think that as sharp as the political divide is in the country, they harnessed it. Like they bottled it up and they made it something that everyone could collectively laugh at. And at this point, I wish we didn't do a better job of highlighting Cal versus Auburn. Like just deep blue versus deep red. In retrospect, I don't think we highlighted it enough. It's because it didn't get the game day treatment, I guess. But some of those signs, the first sign at College Game Day yesterday morning was, I thought this was a protest. Just unbelievable comedic stuff that was dished out on game day yesterday. So I loved it. And then for good measure, Reese Davis gets called into emergency action last night and has to call the game like 12 hours after game day. So there were a lot of MVPs last night on and off the field.